Hello everyone, my name is Guillermo and welcome to Indie Tutorials. Today we are going to go through a video showing how to integrate game creators, players and camera motors with ORK Framework. So let's start by going into Package Manager to download Game Creator. This is Game Creator 1. Click on Import. Import everything. After the import is successful, you can click on Install Game Creator. Let's close the Package Manager. So when it's finally installed, we can close everything, clear the console, and we have it already installed. We can go to the Game Creator menu and see the preferences. And the only thing that we need to do here, since we are not installing the Game Creator examples, is just to unclick Save Scenes. We want ORK Framework to still save everything, so let's untick that one and click and close. Now the next step, I have created here the episode 6 folder. What I did, since I'm using the ORK Framework tutorial project downloaded from the site, from the ORK site, is to duplicate the ORK project asset. So you will find it here in the ORK Framework folder, ORK project. What I did is just to duplicate. This is not mandatory for you if you're working on your own project already, but since we are doing several things on each episode, I wanted to have a separate project. So if I were to open this project in the ORK editor, I see that, well, you remember that we have this hero player for the character selector, but what I'm going to do is to duplicate again the brown pants combatant. So let's click on copy, and let's probably name it a GC for Game Creator player. And we are going to create a prefab in a minute. So click Save Settings and close the editor. The next thing I did was to duplicate the tutorial scene, the one from the town. So this is the one that we see here in my episode. So this is a duplicate scene, and what we are going to do here is add the player. Okay, so to make this to work, we need to create a prefab out of the Game Creator's player. So let's make a quick scene, empty scene. Scene. Let's call it staging. Open up that scene and let's make a 3D object plane as a ground. Reset the position. Let's increase the size to 5 meters. There we go. So what we want to do here is just to right click, create a game creator, characters, create player. So just by doing so, if we now let's move the camera closer, and just by that we can just click play and we have all the functionality of game creator. So right now the camera is not following us yet, but they have the player motor working as expected. So let's stop play mode, and now what we can do also is to create a camera motor. So again, right click, game creator, other, camera motor, and then we have this new camera motor, which by default is set to adventure camera. And what we can do here is to click on our main camera, and you will see that now it has two components, hook camera and camera controller, and it's already pointing to the new camera motor that we already created. So if we were to click on play now we have full camera movement and it's already following the player. Okay, so let's get out of the play mode. Having now our character here in the scene, what we can do is just to drag it to the folder to create a prefab out of it. There we go. In order to interact with physics, the ORK Framework combatants also need a rigid body attached to them. So let's add a component here, rigid body. Make sure that use gravity is unchecked and freeze all position and rotation. Then go to the overrides and apply all, so these changes will apply to our prefab. The next step is to open ORK Framework editor. So make sure that you are opening your custom project, ORK project 006. And from here we need to go to the base control, game controls, and scroll down. The first thing that we see that the interaction controller is going to be instantiated automatically, so we don't need to worry about it. And then in the player controls we can change this to none, as well as the camera controls to none. Then scroll down to the custom controls, click on add custom control. The first one will be to the player, so block by player and place on player, and the behavior name, if we go back to the hierarchy, and from the player what we have is the player character component. So we need to type that here, player character, and we can leave everything as it is. Then we need to add a custom control. In this case it will be for the camera. So if we click on camera now, what we want to, in this case, to change is the camera controller. There we go. Click on Save Settings and confirm. Okay, so the next step is to go to the Combatants tab. Remember that we created our Game Creator Player prefab. So let's drag it up here. And click Save Settings. The reason I'm doing this is just to reuse the configuration or the settings that Brown Pants already has. Okay, so at this point, the next step, if you remembered the workflow in the ORK, is that it will instantiate at start the prefab of the combatant. So we need to modify that. Let's go to the menu tab, and if you go to the menu settings and scroll down, sorry, not menu settings but main menu actually, we can see that when we display the main menu scene and we click on the new game, it will go to the combatant selector screen that we created in earlier videos. So what we can do is to change that, and instead of going to the combatant selector, we can skip it to our scene. So let's rename this or type our names in here, 006 down, and we need to create a new start event to instantiate our player. Remember to put this scene also in the build player settings. Build settings and drag it here as well. Okay, so let's create this start event. Actually, we could reuse the one coming from the tutorial. That should be this one, start event. And from here we can edit the event. Well, actually we need to save the settings here, and since we have the ORK editor already open, it won't go directly to the event, so we need to do it manually. Go to the event tabs, open game event, start event. So we have join active group node. In this case is asking for Brown Pants combatant to join the combatant, so we in this case change it to our game creator player. We need to create in the scene a spawn point for quick testing, and let's, in this case, instead of save event, let's click on save event as, so we can go into our tutorial folder and let me call it a start event, start game event. There we go. So let's close ORK editor. If we wanted to test the integration here in this scene, what we can do is to create a spawn point. So we can go into the ORK scene wizard, create object, spawn point. Placement is okay with me, and also we need to add a game starter to initialize the project. But as you remember, we are calling the game start event from the main menu. So what we will need to do here in order to instantiate the player is to create an event to call that game event that we created. So let's create an empty here and call it game starter, and add a component, event component, event interaction component. We could also add it via scene wizard by creating object. What is it? Sorry, not add component, event interaction. And from here we need to choose the event we created. So let's go to our folder, add the event and click OK, and set start type to auto start. I believe we can leave everything else as it is. So if we were now to test this, we can delete our player from the scene and click play, Ctrl P. And there we go. So the player was instantiated, the camera is following it, and everything is working as expected. Now let's move on and instantiate the player in the town scene. The first thing we need to make sure is that in the build settings we see that we have 0 main menu and then our town scene. So what I'm going to do here is to duplicate as well the main menu scene. So if I go to the tutorial resources from the ORK Framework, I can open up the main menu scene and I will just save as into my folder. Let me call it as well 006 main menu. The change I need to do here is to make sure that in the ORK game starter my project is mapped. Okay, and also since I change the name of the main menu that is expected to be for the game start, I need to go to the ORK Framework, menus, and in the main menu change here the main menu scene to the name of my new menu scene, 006 _ main menu. There we go. So let's click Save Settings. Actually, let me cancel. You know, if you saw that the settings that we set before are not here. So let's double check which project is loaded. Yeah, project 006. So let's go over again of these changes. The new game scene should be .006 down. Down, okay. And we now have our start game event as well. We need to map somehow it lose these changes. So let's click Save Settings, confirm. And if we now click play here, we should be good to test this out. Okay, so let's click play. New game. This is our custom loading screen that we made earlier. And there we go. We have our player, but of course we are missing the camera control to be set up in the town scene as well. So let's do that to finalize the implementation. Open up the town scene, and from here you can select the main camera, and you can whether right click Game Creator Other Camera Motor, or you can select click from here into this nice tool strip. So let's create the camera motor. Automatically is again adventure camera. One thing though I want to disable is the auto reposition behind for now, and make sure that in the main camera you have already the hook camera and the camera controller, and it's set to your camera motor. Okay, save your changes, go back to the main menu, let's click play again, new game, and there we go. And you can see that the interaction is already working properly. So if I were to minimize to see the scene view and click on the player to focus on it, it has already this interaction component added to it. Nice. Now what we can do now is to replace the NPC with a game creator character as well. So to replace the NPC, let's go to the town scene, select on the green NPC, and what we can do here is make note of the transform, but this will be as simple as we could create here from the tool strip, create character, and it's already positioned where the NPC is supposed to, so it's inside actually the prefab, so we can remove it outside of the prefab like so. And let's change, let me see, we need to change the rotation, and from here we have already our character controller, and what we need is the event interaction. So what we can do is copy this component, copy component, click on the character and paste component as new. If we open the event interaction, it's already mapped to the simple dialog. This is what we wanted. So at this point we can select again the NPC green character from the scene and disable it or just delete it, which is what I'm going to do. Delete the NPC. Let me rename this F2 NPC, let's call it green again. And one of the nicest things of game creator characters is that if you want to change the mesh or the model, you can do so just by going to the character. Let me see, sorry, what is it? Here in the character model, sorry, character animator component, character model, and you can drag your model here. So let's do that. So I have already imported a couple of characters from the asset store, and what we need to do is just select the mesh. So let's go again to the NPC green. We have the drop your 3D model here, and there we go, as simple as that. Of course, this model has armature as well of the main model, so what I need to do here is just to disable, for example, let's say this mesh, and just leave the armored one, or the other way around. but that depends of the model that you imported. This same change we can do it to our player prefab. So let's go there. We have it in our resources. So we have the player prefab here. Let's open up the prefab, and in this case we can go into the player character, and we have the character animator, and we have drop your 3D model here as well. So let's choose another mesh, and there we go. So save your prefab changes, save the scene, and let's go to the main menu and test this out. Okay, so let's hit play. Let me unmute the audio. New game. Load the scene. And you can see that actually let me mute now. This camera change was because of the interaction. So if we go and see our camera, main camera, you can see that the camera controller is disabled. And if we go to the player clone instance also, well, in this case we can still move, it's not blocked. The player is not blocked, but the camera is. So it is working as expected. So if we click on interact, we can interact. Again, the same camera change. So if we want to see blue pants, this is the camera change from the tutorial. So that's some things that you could tweak, no problem. But the idea is that you saw that how easy it is to integrate game creator, player and camera motor, and also change your own mesh. You could also change as easy as that your custom animations, but that's something that I might cover on later videos. So thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.